Hello, good afternoon, good morning. Give you guys a few minutes to jump on. Good morning, good afternoon. It's nice to be here. I'm excited to see what's happening in the group and all the great DMs and questions coming through. Thank you so much for being here and participating. It's my great joy to share these practices with you and this information. So keep your DMs coming, keep your questions coming. But today I would really love to talk about the breath and the intelligence and wisdom that our breath holds. And even before there was a CAT scan or a microscope or a way of looking inside the body, the yogis of old had a felt experience of their bodies, their minds, their emotions, and their physiology, and tried to geolocate that information by drawing maps in the body. So one of the things that they experienced and then tried to reverse engineer some of these techniques to bring about different states in their body. One of the things that they experienced is that like someone jumped out at you, right? If you got a fright, you wouldn't go, right? You draw in a really quick, short inhale, right? The inhale phase of breath in our own physiology, as we know now, triggers something called the sympathetic part of your nervous system. So there's a nerve that leads to the heart that as you inhale, speeds up the heart. The heart goes a little bit faster. It's called the cardiac sympathetic nerve. So it revs up, right? And this prepares you to engage. This prepares you to pay attention, to engage, to do your job, to do what's needed, and push to the, nth degree to fight or to flee, right? So it's really our system of engagement tied to our own inhale. And then the yogis of old noticed that when they got home at the end of the day and were lounging about and finally got to, get done with their jobs and sit with their loved ones, they weren't going, they were taking a long exhalation, a sigh out. And the exhale, as we know now, the exhale is tied in our physiology to triggering what's called a parasympathetic activation. Every time you exhale, there's another nerve that goes to the heart called the vagus nerve that each time you exhale slows the heartbeat down. Right? So every time you inhale, the heartbeat speeds up. Every time you exhale, the heartbeat slows down. So it triggers this parasympathetic activation, which is known to be the rest and repair and rejuvenate and relax part of your nervous system. So the yogis knew this without knowing that language and started to play with the ratios of the breath. They started to extend one side longer than the other. They started to play with all these different techniques, and they noticed that it brought about different energy states, different energetic or physiological states. What I'd like to share with you today is how can we find equanimity, right? We want to have access to both engagement and restfulness. We want both of that, right? We want access to both. So I thought we'd do a practice today about equanimity, about playing with the breath, playing with this kind of inner teacher, inner exploration, to strike a balance, to gain mastery or masterfulness, I don't know if that's a word, of both ends of the spectrum, sympathetic and parasympathetic engagement and release or relaxation. And the breath that I thought we would do is what one of my teachers, Rod Stryker, calls the circular breath. So just if you're with if you're somewhere where you can do this, otherwise save it for later and come back to it, you'll just take a comfortable seat, anything that you can sustain for what could be, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. So find the most comfortable seat that will work for you. Arrange yourself well so you can sit up on some padding or props. Use a wall for support, or if you're sitting in a chair, you can kind of cozy up to the back of the chair and place your feet on the floor. You can turn your palms to face down onto your knees or thighs. I find that a little bit more restful, a little more grounding. And if you feel comfortable from where you are, close your eyes. And before we get going into the technique, just give yourself a few moments to take what I always think of as a before picture. Just noticing in this moment of now, anything you feel in your body, any sensations that you can pinpoint, that you know to be true. Notice where you feel, or if you can feel, the presence of your breathing in its natural state. Maybe a particular mood or qualities of the mind. There's nothing particular that we're looking for, just acknowledging our starting point. And let's begin by deepening the breath in and out through the nose. And to find a little more ease in deepening the breath and maybe refining the breath, create a little what's called in yoga terms ujjayi. It's just a little hug of the vocal folds, almost like you're whispering. Same action in the throat. And the breath might even start to take on a certain vibrational quality, or there might even be a little whispery sound that you feel or hear coming from the throat. Sometimes people say it's almost like the sound of an ocean. There's no need to strain with that, we're just narrowing the vocal folds. Almost like you're drinking a thick milkshake through a smaller straw. It's going to take more of your effort, more engagement, but you can savor the milkshake for longer. We're just savoring the breath, drawing it in slower, more conscious streams. And the first step, we're just going to start refining that sound of the breath, that ujjayi. So it's really more felt than heard. See if you can refine the sound so it's just maybe loud enough for you to hear it. But if anyone were sitting next to you, they wouldn't hear it. Deepening the breath, ujjayi. Refining the sound. The next stage, or the next level of refinement, we'll start to find some equanimity between the inhale and the exhale phase of breath. So if your inhale is, say, a count of 6, your exhale is a count of 6, or whatever your particular number is. So just even attention to both sides of the breath, inhales and exhales. So as you continue on, deepening the breath, refining the sound, and finding equanimity in the inhale and exhale phase. And last bit of refinement, see if you can notice if there's any portion of the breath that's a little bit jumpy or staccato. Parts of the cycle of the breath where you're gulping or puttering out. And just by drawing your own really sweet attention to those rough spots, can it smooth out? Even at the ends of the breath, can the inhale lead without pause or hesitation to the exhale? The exhale leads without pause or hesitation to the inhale. So it becomes more circular in nature. So refining the sound, the equanimity, and smoothing out what's called the vritti, fluctuation in the breath. And finishing your next round of breath. And relax your breath so you no longer have to stretch it or shape it in any way. Just let it fall back into its perfect natural rhythm. And take a new before picture, this new moment of now. Just spend a moment or two noticing any sensations in the body. Your awareness of the presence of breath in your form. A certain mood, qualities of the mind. Just this new moment of now. Bow your chin towards your chest, drawing the head to the heart. And as you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open, maybe taking the gaze at one point on the floor. Slowly coming back into your space. It doesn't take much to connect with that internal landscape of the body, um, to make shifts in our own physiology by using just quite simple tools of our own very accessible breath.